Task versus ego orientation. When it comes to beating procrastination, taking efficient action, or motivating yourself toward your goals, there are a few psychological strategies that can help you get there faster. You may not realize it, but the attitude or approach you take to your goals may in fact be impeding you from achieving them. Not all goals are created the same, and the perspective we take on the path toward those goals can make a massive difference in whether they are ever realized. Basically, there are two main tactics: having an ego orientation and having a task orientation. Though neither is intrinsically better than the other, the fact is that if you value your productivity, your ongoing learning, and ultimately achieving what you want, one orientation is going to get you there quicker. So, for our purposes, one is better: task orientation. You can either focus on your actual efforts to achieve the task in front of you, task orientation, or you can focus on comparing yourself to others, i.e., thinking of achievement in terms of your own self-worth relative to others, ego orientation. Outlining these effects is a theory called achievement goal theory, and research consistently determines that task involvement is associated with good mental health and better outcomes, whereas ego orientation is associated with an overall negative outcome. We can think about it from a bird's eye view by comparing two people. Who will stand a better chance of taking more action? Jim, who's focused on completing a task, or Bob, who's focused on what others think about him? The answer seems obvious, but it's a simple trap that we easily fall into. Let's look at task orientation first. This mindset is all about mastering the skill or task at hand. It's the work, the lesson to be learned, the team, the big idea. With more practice, we gain mastery in our skill, no matter the field. Essentially, we are intrinsically motivated, comparing ourselves to ourselves. It's about improvement, progress, and completion. The pleasure is in the act of doing. Being completely task-focused can bring us into the zone, where we can be completely engrossed in our work, concentrating on the mission without any self-consciousness, driven by the need to explore, understand, create, or communicate. When you're oriented this way toward your goals, you can focus on putting plenty of effort into achieving your aims. You do your best, and may even enjoy pushing yourself. You easily collaborate with teammates, not seeing them as competition, but rather eagerly exploring all the ways they can contribute to the project. Hierarchies and protocols are less important here. What you're focused on is the task itself. Perhaps it goes without saying, but those fully identified with this frame of mind find it far easier to actually enjoy their work. They seem to tire less easily, act more spontaneously, and produce better results all around. What's more, a person whose self-concept is not unhealthily tied up in the outcome of their work will not feel foolish for making mistakes, and will not make more mistakes in trying to avoid uncomfortable feelings, such as not knowing the answer. However, there is another way to approach the work, and it's with a focus on demonstrating one's own superiority. The ego orientation sees the task at hand as a means to an end, and the end is to enjoy being perceived as competent by others. This is an external source of motivation, as the feeling of mastery is not coming from the individual's own sense of development and learning, but from the external sensation of beating out competitors and being perceived as capable. And if a person acting on ego orientation doesn't feel that their ego will perform well, then there appears to be little reason to act and risk embarrassment. A person operating from an ego orientation is not primarily inspired by mastering the task itself. They may compare themselves to others and rank their performance on this basis, putting emphasis on winning and being the best, rather than doing the job well. Genuine development and mastery are only appreciated if they're in service of winning accolades, being externally praised, or feeling as though one is outperformed compared to others. In other words, It's all about extrinsic motivation. The irony is that although many of us may be drawn to particular goals because of this ego element, it's this very attitude that most undermines our ability to perform well. Those with a task orientation, on the other hand, may more easily achieve recognition and esteem from peers without focusing on it at all. You may not feel like you're really motivated in this way, but have you ever felt better about your performance only after someone else told you how good it was? Have you ever told yourself that success, yours or others, came down to dumb luck, or else innate intelligence or ability, and not hard work? If so, you may be more ego-oriented than it first seems. Striving to be better than others, to have the right approach, equipment, or technique, to feel overly confident and be a winner are all relatively harmless. But when these feelings are the sole motivation behind achieving a goal, problems can arise. Unlike the task-oriented person, the ego-oriented person will be less able to tolerate rejection or criticism, even if it could improve their performance. They're less likely to enjoy the process overall and may end up rushing tasks, avoiding them altogether, or, you guessed it, procrastinating. Consider a generic workplace. Management may set goals for employees and encourage them to achieve and perform to their highest potential. These goals keep everyone motivated and inspire people to be consistent, work hard, and get results. On a team, someone may be especially ego-oriented. Feeling generally insecure in their skills, they may internalize their goals as, "I have to beat everyone else on this team." This attitude may be seen by a manager as just the right kind of go-getting, ruthless outlook that gets stuff done around the office. But this employee may not actually perform any better. Because this employee has so wrapped up his ego and self-concept in his performance, he's set up a dangerous condition. He finds failure unacceptable. Mistakes are not permitted. He now sees his teammates, in effect, as his enemies rather than as collaborators. So, rather than acting from inspiration, spontaneity, the love of his work, or even from a sense of duty, he begins to act out of fear. With time, this employee may prove himself to be a liability rather than an asset. He may inadvertently steal credit for others' work, since the main aim is to win, not to actually master the task within himself. Interpret any feedback as a personal attack and lose all motivation when he isn't at the very top. He may work poorly with others or procrastinate. Wouldn't you, if you had placed so much pressure on yourself? The problem with this employee is that he isn't focused on what matters. Another employee, however, may have a completely different orientation and concentrate on the task, not himself. Completely opposite to the employee who seemed to have a gung-ho, winner-takes-all attitude, this person actually gets the work done and probably enjoys the process a lot more. He acts from wanting to understand what's in front of him, from the desire to gain competence with increased practice, and from a high tolerance for struggle and occasional failure. He doesn't care too much about failure since it doesn't reflect on him personally. He merely carries on to find out what will work. This means he's receptive to feedback and criticism. It's great, in his opinion, because now he can understand the problem better and will actively work with others. Why wouldn't he collaborate, since the more expertise involved, the sooner solutions can be found? He's not threatened by others' success and can derive satisfaction from the entire process of learning and working, not just the end point. Throughout the process, his sense of self-worth is scarcely involved. He feels good about himself whenever he works hard, period. He disentangles himself from competition and end goals and focuses instead on the work in the moment, which is precisely why he's ultimately far more productive than his ego-driven colleague. Task orientation is something that can be developed within yourself, or it can be fostered in various situations like workplaces. If you find yourself petrified of failure, uninspired, or prone to procrastination, check to see if you can reorient yourself to what's important, gaining mastery of the task. A great tip is to set small, daily goals that focus on the process of the work rather than the outcome. So, tell yourself that you want to commit to jogging for 20 minutes every day rather than you want to lose 10 pounds, and perhaps have everyone admire you for the achievement. The former can be achieved and celebrated every time you put the effort in. It's about the work, not about how you'll feel in some projected future. Wherever you're feeling uninspired in life, take a close look and see if an ego perspective of your goal has caused you to forget the joy of actually mastering this task. Perfectionism is a classic sign of ego orientation. Can you instead commit to doing the messy, sometimes unpredictable work and focus less on how your performance looks to others? Finally, when it comes to procrastination, examine carefully and ask if delaying a task is actually protecting your ego somehow. Many people unconsciously resist the end of a task because they fear being judged and found wanting. If this is you, try to set those fears aside for the moment and remind yourself that little steps are valuable, that with effort, you can improve little by little. And if you're patient, you can achieve the best thing of all, the satisfaction of knowing that, on your own terms, you have developed and grown. Take rapid action. Get productive, motivated, and energized. Stop overthinking and procrastinating. Written by Patrick King. Narrated by Russell Newton.